something the other day that stopped me in my tracks. It was an Instagram post that said losing weight is 20% lifting weights, walking, and cardio, and 80% managing emotional eating. Now, I don't know if those exact numbers are scientific, but I felt that one in my bones because you can white knuckle your way through a workout, but that other 80%, that eating your feelings part, that is the part that has quietly run the show for so many of us for our entire lives. And today, we're finally going to talk about it.
Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast, brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Lisa Joy Thompson, and every week we bring you the science, the stories, and the straight talk you need to feel better and live free. From real food to hormone health to breaking free from yo-yo dieting for good. This is the show for every woman who's ready to stop surviving and start thriving. Settle in, friend. What you're about to hear might just change everything.
Friend, I am so glad you're here today, and I want to come right back to that post I mentioned because it has been stuck in my head ever since I saw it. Losing weight is 20% lifting weights and walking and cardio, and 80% not eating your feelings. And whether or not the exact math holds up, the heart of it is so true it almost stings. Here's what I mean. I'd be willing to bet that you already know what you're supposed to eat. You know that a vegetable is a better choice than a cookie. You know water is better than soda. Knowledge hasn't been your problem. You'd probably stand up and teach a class on weight loss. So if you already know all of it, then why is it still so hard? Why do you find yourself standing at the kitchen counter at 9 o'clock at night eating something you didn't even really want? It's because the reason we reach for food when we're not hungry has almost nothing to do with food. And until we deal with that, with the real thing sitting underneath it, no meal plan on this earth is going to stick. So today, we're going to deal with that real thing. And I'm not saying any of this from up on a pedestal. I'm saying it as someone who has lived every bit of it. I didn't reach 288 pounds because I didn't know that broccoli was healthier than a brownie. I knew, of course I knew. For most of us, just like me, food isn't always just about hunger. Food often does a whole nother job. It's comforting, it's rewarding, it's numbing things you don't want to feel. And no diet is ever going to fix that because no diet was ever built to fix that. You can't put a coping tool on a meal plan. Now, I love that post, and it stopped me for a reason, but I have to add something to it because I don't ever want to leave you with the idea that your weight is simply a matter of willpower, or that if you could just stop eating your feelings, the scale would finally start moving, because that's not the whole truth. Right? I know it's not the truth, both from my own experience and from the experience of so many of the women in our Thinlicious program. For most of us, the weight was never just about eating the wrong things, and it was never just about our emotions either. Underneath all of it, there's something physical going on. Insulin resistance, hormones that were genuinely out of whack, a body that stopped responding the way it was designed to. That's the real physical root, and no amount of willpower is ever going to fix it because it's not a willpower problem in the first place. But here's where the two things connect, and this is the part I really want you to hear. When your hormones are working against you and you're doing every single thing you've been told to do, eating less, moving more, being so good for so long, and the weight still doesn't come off, something happens inside you. You get discouraged. You start to feel hopeless. You think, what's the point? Nothing works for me anyway. And friend, that feeling right there, that quiet hopelessness, is one of the biggest triggers for emotional eating that there is. When your effort doesn't seem to matter, it gets so much harder to keep white knuckling and so much easier just to reach for the food. So you see the trap. The out of whack hormones keep the weight on, the weight refusing to move makes you feel hopeless, and that hopelessness drives you right back to the emotional eating. It's a loop, and you've probably been blaming yourself for the whole thing when really your body was caught in a cycle that nobody ever bothered to explain to you. So let's talk about why we actually do this, because I need you to hear something right now. Emotional eating is not a character flaw. It's not proof that you're weak or broken or that you lack discipline. It is a coping tool. And if I'm being really honest with you, it's a pretty darn effective one, at least in the moment, which is exactly why it's so hard to stop using that coping tool. Think about everything food does for us. It comforts us when we're hurting. It rewards us at the end of a hard day. It numbs a feeling we don't want to sit inside of. It celebrates with us. It's right there at the end of a long day when everyone has finally stopped needing something from you, and it asks nothing of you in return. Food is reliable. It works fast. It doesn't let you down in the moment. So of course we reach for it. We're not being ridiculous or dramatic. We found something that reliably took the edge off and we used it. Anybody would. And there's another layer to this that runs even deeper, because food isn't just about the feeling you're having right now. Food is tied to so many of our memories and to our traditions and to the people we love. It's your grandmother's kitchen. It's the cookies you made every Christmas. It's the meal your mom made you when you were sick, or the treat you got on hard days as a little girl. It's holidays and birthdays and every celebration you ever had. So when you reach for a certain food, you're often not just reaching for comfort, you're reaching for a memory, for a feeling of home, for a moment when you felt safe and loved. And that's the beautiful thing about food. But it also means the pull is so much stronger than simple hunger, because it's layered with all of that history. So no wonder it has such a hold. You're not weak, you're up against a lifetime of meaning wrapped around every tiny bite. The problem's not that you're weak. The problem is that you've been using food to meet a real legitimate need that food wasn't actually designed to meet. The comfort's real, but it's temporary, and then it fades and the need is still sitting right there, except now you also feel bad about the eating on top of it. And that's the trap. And here's the thing about that trap. You can't shame your way out of it. It's never worked and it never will. Now, I want to put an actual word to this, because in my work as a life coach, this is something I talk about with my clients all the time. There's a name for what we've been describing, and it's called buffering. Buffering is when we use something outside of ourselves to avoid feeling an emotion we don't want to feel. So instead of actually feeling the stress or the sadness or the boredom or the loneliness, we reach for something to take the edge off and push it back down. That's what buffering is. And here's what's so interesting about it. We can buffer with all kinds of things. Some people buffer with alcohol. Some people buffer by scrolling their phone for hours on end, or by staying so relentlessly busy that they never have to slow down long enough to feel anything at all. But I'll tell you what I see in my own coaching practice. For right around 90% of the clients I work with, their buffer of choice comes down to one of two things. It's overeating or it's overspending, food or shopping, and those are the big two. And if you feel just a little bit seen by that friend, you're in very good company, because these are socially acceptable buffers. Nobody blinks an eye when you have a hard day and say you're going to treat yourself, right? Whether that's a pint of ice cream or an online cart full of things you don't really need. But underneath both of them is the exact same thing. A feeling you didn't want to feel and something you reached for so that you wouldn't have to. And once you can see it for what it is, you can finally get curious about it instead of just ashamed of it. So, let me name some of the big triggers. And as I go, I want you to quietly notice which ones that you currently deal with, right? No judgment here at all, just awareness, because you can't change what you can't yet see. All right, number one is stress. Something is hard or heavy, and food is the fastest way you know to take the edge off. Number two is exhaustion. You're running on empty, and food, especially something sweet, feels like quick energy and a quick little reward all at once. Number three is boredom. You're not even hungry. You're just restless, looking for something, and the kitchen is right there. Number four is loneliness. Food fills a quiet that feels hard to just sit in. Number five is the reward. You held it together all day long. You were good for everybody who needed you, and now, finally, you deserve this. Food as your payment for surviving the day. Number six is autopilot. You're on the couch in front of the television and your hand is just going to the bowl over and over and over, and you're barely even tasting what you're eating. And number seven, and this is the big one, you're feeding a feeling you don't want to feel. Something starts to bubble up inside you and eating quietly pushes it back down. So, which ones did you recognize? Most of us have two or three that are really and truly ours. And just naming them, just being able to say, oh, that one right there, that's mine. That's the first crack of light coming in. Now, here's the part that actually changes things, and it's not what you've always been told. You've probably told the answer is more willpower or more discipline. Just try harder, want it more, clean out the pantry, get some self-control. And you've tried every bit of that, and it hasn't worked. And it hasn't worked for a reason. You can't willpower your way out of an emotional need. And you can't shame your way out either. Beating yourself up afterwards has never once in the entire history of the world stopped anyone from doing something again. All it does is add a fresh layer of pain that you'll need to numb again later. The only real way out is something much gentler than willpower and so much more powerful. It's the pause. It's learning to put one small moment of space between the feeling and the food. Just a breath, just enough of a gap to stop and ask yourself one simple question. What am I actually feeling right now? And what do I actually need? Because here's what you're going to discover almost every single time you ask. It's not food. You're tired and what you need is rest. You're stressed and what you need is a boundary or a break. You're lonely and what you need is to reach out to someone. You're overwhelmed and what you need is help or even just 5 quiet minutes to yourself. The hunger is real. It's just not a hunger for food. And the moment you can name what it actually is, food loses a little bit of its grip on you because you finally know what you were really reaching for. So let me give you some real doable steps here, and I want you to notice that every single one of them is rooted in grace, not in punishment. First, name the feeling before you reach. Before you even open the pantry door, just pause and say, what am I feeling right now? You don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything about it yet. Just naming it out loud starts to loosen its hold on you. Second, build yourself a little list of comforts that are not food. Because if I just tell you to stop reaching for food and hand you nothing to reach for instead, I've set you up to fail. So make the list now on a calm day when you're thinking clearly. A warm bubble bath, putting on a face mask, a few minutes writing in a journal, calling your sister, 10 minutes with a good book, whatever actually suits you, so that in the hard moment, you already have somewhere else to turn instead of the pantry. And I want to give one of these its own special attention because it's so important and it gets overlooked all the time, and that is movement. Here is something most people don't know. We need to move our bodies in order to actually process our emotions. Your feelings don't just live in your head, they live in your body too, and sometimes they need somewhere to go. So when you're feeling really stirred up, when the emotion is big and intense and you can feel it buzzing under your skin, what you need more than anything else is often not to sit with it, and it's certainly not to eat it. What you need most in that moment is to move. Go for a walk and let your feet carry some of it. Put on a song and dance around in your kitchen. Jump on a rebounder, one of those little mini trampolines, for a few minutes. You'd be amazed how much lighter you feel on the other side of moving your body. How much of that emotional charge just works its way right out of you. So please, don't underestimate a simple walk. Sometimes it's the single most powerful tool you have. Third, when you slip, and you will because you are a human being, get curious instead of critical. Instead of, I'm such a failure, I can't believe I did it again. Try saying something like, oh, that's interesting. What was going on for me right before that happened? This isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's exactly how you learn your own patterns. Shame keeps you stuck in the mud. Curiosity is what actually moves you forward. And fourth, take care of the real need underneath because that's the actual work and it's good work. If you're exhausted, protect your sleep like it matters because it does. If you're stressed to your absolute breaking point, then something has to give. And friend, it shouldn't always be you. If you're lonely, reach for people. Emotional eating is so often a signal, a flare going up that a real need in your life is going unmet. So listen to the signal instead of just quieting it. And fifth, don't forget your foundation because this piece makes every other piece easier. And it's the part that actually breaks the loop we talked about earlier. When you start healing the physical root, when your blood sugar steadies and when your body gets the real food and the protein it's been missing, 2 things happen. The physical cravings quiet way, way down, and just as importantly, the weight finally starts to respond, which means that crushing hopelessness begins to lift. And when the hopelessness lifts, one of your biggest emotional eating triggers goes right along with it. If you caught the episodes on hidden sugar and on protein, this is where all of that ties together. Because when you're not fighting a raging physical craving and a broken hormonal system and an emotional pull all at the very same time, everything gets more manageable. You take the physical part off the table and suddenly the emotional part is something you can actually work with. And I want to say one more thing very gently because it matters to me that you hear this. For some of us, what is sitting underneath the eating is heavier than just a hard day. Sometimes food has been covering real pain, old pain, deep pain, And there is no shame in that at all. But it might also be more than a podcast episode or a comfort list can hold on its own. If that's you, please hear me say this. There is no weakness in getting real support. Talking to a good counselor or a trusted person in your life about what's underneath is one of the bravest and most loving things you could ever do for yourself. You were never meant to carry the heavy things all by yourself. So here's what I want you to walk away holding on to today. This was never about willpower. It was never about being more disciplined or wanting it badly enough. This is about finally giving yourself what you've actually been hungry for all along. And most of the time, what you're truly hungry for is not sitting in the pantry. It's rest, it's grace, it's comfort that actually comforts. It's being seen and cared for and looked after. So be gentle with yourself, friend. You've been doing the very best you could to take care of yourself with the only tool you had in your hand. And now you have a few more. And you get to start putting them to work the very next time you feel that familiar little pull toward the kitchen. And if you're ready to take that physical piece off the table to steady your body with real food so the cravings quiet down and all of this gets easier, this is exactly what the Thin Adapted System is built to walk you through, step by step. You can find it anytime at getthinlicious.com/thinadaptedsystem. Thanks for being here with me today. Be kind to yourself, feed yourself well in every sense of the word, and remember, you were made to feel better and live free.